Good day to you, and welcome to Common Sense with Tom Schmitz. We hope everyone is about done with their holiday shopping, but remember, if you're not, buy local. I'm your host, Tom Schmitz, and I must confess that I'm a Christmas Eve shopper. That's right, I wait until the 11th hour to do all my shopping. So look out, local stores. I'll be coming in a whirlwind in about 2 short days from now. I do need to let you, the audience, know that the views expressed here on Common Sense with Tom Schmitz are those of the host and guest only, and in no way reflect the views or opinions of the CEP, the Power Plant Business Incubator, the City of Ocala, or Marion County. Our guest today on Common Sense with Tom Schmitz is Kevin Sheilley, the President and CEO of the Chamber of Economic Partnerships for Ocala, Marion County. Kevin has assured me we'll have great things to discuss about business creation and support here in our area, so stay tuned for that. But first, this is what happened while you were sleeping. While You Were Sleeping is brought to you by National Sports Broadcasting, your leader in equine competition broadcasting in Marion County. This according to Ocala.com. State law enforcement officials said at least one person was hurt in a shooting involving police at Ocala Regional Medical Center. A press release issued by OPD said the incident occurred around 11:54 p.m. at the facility located at 1431 Southwest 1st Avenue. A spokesperson with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement said while a suspect was hurt, it is unclear whether any officers were injured. At this point, officials have yet to say whether the shooting happened inside the hospital or on hospital grounds. We will continue to follow this story and update here where possible. With that, I'd now like to welcome in my guest, the CEO and President of the Chamber of Economic Partnership, Kevin Sheilley. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be with you.
I think that's the first time in 4.5 years of you and I discussing things that I've got your title right, or that Buddy Martin, my colleague, has gotten your title right.
That's okay. It's an unusual one. We got a long name of an organization, so.
Buddy always calls you the czar of the CEP.
Yeah, I've been called worse, so I don't mind about that.
So now you're in a very good mood today, not only because of economic advancement in Marion County, but because the Louisville Cardinals last night beat the Kentucky Wildcats.
They did. So, L's up, and always excited when the Cards can bring home a victory. And I cheer for the Cats as long as they're not playing my cards, but we were due a victory. So.
Yeah, that for people that don't understand, that rivalry in basketball, Louisville, Kentucky, is to you guys in basketball exactly what Florida State is in football.
I will tell you this, having lived now here in Florida for 4 years, and this is no disrespect to my friends here in Florida, but to compare it to Florida State is really not. You don't understand the venom, how much hate there is between Louisville and Kentucky. I think probably Alabama-Auburn is the only one that I know of that really compares.
You've never seen me around friends of mine that are Florida State fans then.
You didn't see the text I was getting last night, so.
Yes, touche, I'll give you that. But Coach Pitino is victorious last night as number 10 Louisville beats number 6 Kentucky, and as a fan of the number 8 North Carolina Tar Heels, anytime somebody beats Kentucky, I'm okay with that.
I understand that.
I like Carolina and anybody that beats Duke and Kentucky.
You know what? We can certainly agree on the second part of that. At the Sheilley household, anyone who beats Duke is a good team.
Anybody that beats Duke is a good team. Kevin, let's talk about our area. You've been here now, is it almost 5 years?
It was 4 years, 1st of December.
4 years, 1st of December.
Yep.
You came from the what is it, four quads or the
Northwest Kentucky.
Northwest
County, yeah.
4 county. And you came here to when the city and the county combined their joint efforts to create the Chamber of Economic Partnership to bring business into our area to, as you've said numerous times before, to make us more than one-dimensional in economics.
Right.
Because when the housing bust happened, Ocala, Marion County felt a huge hit because we were so real estate heavy.
Right.
We were equine and real estate heavy.
Right. And if you think about that, even not just the home building, but who was our other largest employer? Well, Taylor Bean Whitaker, who is tied directly. So even our ancillary businesses were tied directly to the home building industry.
So now you were brought in to help facilitate a change into bringing a more diverse portfolio to Ocala, Marion County. We see the advancements when you drive down, you see Sitel with a sign out right now saying hiring positions. Right. You see that the Taylor Bean and Whitaker building is full of vibrant businesses now, from logistics for R&L carriers to advertising media corporations. That building's being used. I live out off the 35th Street extension,
Okay.
out by Ring Power and all. But as I come back and forth towards the mall to go shopping and all, the area I drive right by is the new 35th Street, where the FedEx is up and running now, fully operational distribution center. And not only that, but there are earth movers and dirt movers over there building as fast as they can some more endeavors.
Right.
What does it take for you on a daily basis to stay on top of economic advancement here in Marion County?
Sure. You know, I think probably one of the things that's so important about our model and what we do is, and I'm going to answer the question, so let's give me a minute to get there. But you know, we were really committed from the beginning to creating a team of people. People who could focus on business attraction, people who could focus on helping existing companies be successful, people who could focus on helping people start businesses and encourage entrepreneurship. And so we really went out and hired the very best people we could in each of those areas. But the other thing that's key is we don't have any silos. So all these people are working together. So no one, you know, attraction doesn't work in a silo, or creation doesn't work in a silo. They're all working across with one another. And so that allows us to really take the most advantage to opportunities when they present themselves. You know, our team is out every day looking, how do we help people create and retain jobs? And to go aggressively tell the story. In Florida, it's tough. Florida is a tough state for economic development, not because we don't have a lot of good assets and a great story to tell. It's that Florida has adopted as a state the philosophy, we're just not going to support doing that. Stuff's probably going to happen here. We don't have to worry about it. It's the wrong approach. Time has shown again and again when areas and communities that take that approach that it doesn't last, it's not sustainable. But that is the approach the state has taken and is moving toward. So it's really about us here in Ocala, Marion County telling our story. And I think that's why, you know, if you look at, in particular, the most recent announcements with AutoZone and with now Chewy, that's really about what Ocala, Marion County has done and not what anyone else has done. We've really taken ownership for our story to go out and tell, to help create those opportunities.
We'll get to some of the advancements or some of the announcements in a few moments. When you talk about the state's lackadaisical attitude, it's kind of like, it's Florida, we got great weather, why wouldn't somebody want to come here?
Exactly.
And they think that will suffice.
Right. And you know, that's a great advantage, but you know, people get all upset about incentives, and they really don't understand what incentives are. But I always love to go back to the story of JCPenney a couple years ago. And that's probably been 8 or 9 years ago, but you may know JCPenney got a new CEO. And he said, we're going to do away with sales, we're going to do away with discounts.
Yep.
We're just going to do an everyday low price, and everyone's going to like it. It's going to be so much better. Within 9 months, he was fired.
Yeah, because they about went bankrupt.
They nearly crashed the company because people are like, no, I want to feel like I'm getting, even though I may be paying the same price with this new lower price versus what I paid with the sale, I need to feel like I'm getting a good deal.
I like that sign that says clearance.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if the company is selling it, they're still going to be making money. When we do incentives, part of it is because companies need to believe they're getting a good deal. If you look at every incentive package that's done in this community, and really with the tools that the state has, they're all performance-based. The community always comes out on top. And sometimes to understand how those things work, you go, wait a minute, that's a really good business deal. And that's what we're doing, is we're really setting up the community to create really strong business deals. And that's what the state needs to do as well.
When we talk about setting up businesses, and you bring in big businesses like AutoZone and FedEx and Chewy pet supplies and everything, those are great, but I am a testament to another avenue of business and employment building that you're doing with the CEP, and that's the Power Plant Business Incubator. We're sitting in a suite now at the Power Plant Business Incubator. I'm a tenant of the Power Plant Business Incubator, Common Sense Network LLC. It's a company of 3 people,
Right.
But it is something that the CEP has found as a necessary entity to create business, not just on a grand scale, but the small business entrepreneur too. Why is it so important to have a place like the Power Plant Business Incubator?
You know, if we think about your comments earlier about diversifying the portfolio, our economic portfolio, so bring in these new major employers and those kind of things, but a part of that diversification has to be growing our own. You know, this community is so fortunate. When we think back, we've grown some pretty impressive companies here. E1, Signature Brands, Closet Mate. I mean, there's a real history of growing companies here, but they all started off small. Signature Brands is great. It started in a garage. I mean, those are the stories. And so what we can do to help create, because whether it means creating opportunities for one person or three people, is significant. It enhances the quality of life. It makes our community more dynamic and diversifies that portfolio. But we also never know when that company that starts with one person may grow to 5, may grow to 25, may grow to 250. And so we've got to be actively engaged with that. You know, our model's unique. There aren't very many chamber organizations that run incubators. There are very few chamber economic development organizations that run incubators.
They're usually university-based.
Either university or government. We think our model works best because it's helping to integrate all of these new businesses into the business community at large. And I can't think of how many times as we're working with new businesses here, whether they are incubator businesses or, you know, Ryan and the team here, they'll consult and advise probably more than 150 to 200 businesses every year who never come into the power plant about ways to help grow their business. But how many times we're able to then connect startup businesses with existing businesses in our community to help them both be more successful. That's not going to happen in a university-run incubator. That's not going to happen in a government-run incubator. And so we really think it's the best way to approach it. I can't tell anyone else what they need to do, but it's certainly the best way for our community.
And the Power Plant Business Incubator has been in existence now since February of 2012. So we're coming up on, it'll be 5 years. Wow, it doesn't seem that long ago that Buddy Martin and I were sitting in the lobby hosting a radio show the day the power plant, the power was re-energized. Daniel Owen was city councilman then, he was on the radio with us. Doesn't seem like that long ago. Somebody asked me, how did you know about the Power Plant Business Incubator? I was lucky, I was here on day one, and I knew the inner workings of what the power plant does. But it is vital for a community to survive to have the entrepreneurship thought process and the small business creation. Even though you get big companies, like you said, AutoZone coming in and FedEx with distribution, the small entrepreneurial companies are sometimes the backbone and lifeline of a community.
Well, you know, at that point in time, they're here, and they're going. This is home. This is where you're going to be, and so we're going to grow. That's important. You know, FedEx isn't going to go anywhere, and AutoZone's not going to go anywhere today. But lots of things can change in corporate America, and that's part of the business. Growing these existing businesses is really key. You know, you say something that's important. We've got to do, and we keep looking at ways. How do we tell the story of the power plant? At this point in time, I can't believe there's anyone who lives here who doesn't know about the power plant, but they don't. We have partners at the CEP who really aren't aware of what the power plant is and does. And so constantly looking for ways to tell the story of what we're doing in this facility, the companies that are here, and how we're helping them grow and to diversify our economy.
Now, I watched recently 60 Minutes episode where they talked about a guy who runs a Chamber of Economic Partnership over in Starksville, Mississippi, in the Diamond Triangle or whatever he called it. It was
Golden Triangle.
The Golden Triangle. And he does it with the mentality of a football coach.
Absolutely.
And he gets after it and all. But what I took from that was the competition you're up against nationwide. Because he's doing the exact job there in the Golden Triangle that you and your staff are doing here in Marion County. The competition, you got to be on top of your game at all times, because it's a dog-eat-dog world out there trying to attract business to our area.
Absolutely. You know, there are over 3,000 economic development organizations in this country. Every one of them wants every project that we're chasing. So, you know, it's interesting. He shared a lot of information. His approach, in some ways, is a little bit different than mine, just from a personality standpoint. But when he talked about knowing who his competition was, when he talked about the research that they do and some of the ways that they do that, you know, that's absolutely stuff that we do every single day. We don't like to talk about that as much because we don't want our competition to find out. But it is, you know, Chewy, this recent project, is a great example of that. We knew who our competitors were. We knew when they were visiting those competitors. We knew what the product was that we were competing against. We knew what the incentive package were likely to look like. So we were, you know, everything we were doing was, how do we strategize? How do we present something that's going to allow us to be more competitive than our competition to win this project?
Let's talk about our community for a moment, because we talk about the economics of our community. But when you're courting a company, for lack of a better term, because that's what you're doing,
Absolutely.
You're courting business to come into our area. they look at stuff like public safety. They look at stuff like the school district. They look at things like the cultural events and activities there are to do here. How important, because you always hear that public safety, proper housing in schools, and cultural are things that business always are concerned with. Is that really a major concern?
So, especially on an attraction decision, where a company may be spending 10, 20, 50, $100 million, it's about a spreadsheet. They're looking at a spreadsheet of cost. And sometimes people don't like for me to say this. What cost number do you put in about schools? What cost number do you put in about quality of life? There's not one. There's not a number to put into that scenario. Those questions, and it always stuns people. They can't believe it's true. I've been doing this for 22 years. The questions we get about schools on an attraction project, tell me something about your schools. It's a paragraph, throwaway answer. They're not delving into data. When they ask about quality of life, it's a paragraph. It's something that, we asked about it, check. It's not really going into that decision-making process because it's about a spreadsheet. And at the end of the day, they're going to look at the cost-benefit analysis. Now, where that does come into play is when we have existing companies or we're trying to grow entrepreneurs. Because do I want to live in this community? The ability to help existing companies attract talent. Because when you're getting ready to move to community, and as a family who's moved here within the last 5 years, first thing my wife did was she went online to look about the schools. We looked at housing costs. What is it like to live in that community? Those are all things that we look at. So those are really important when you're talking about attracting people, attracting talent, not so much when it comes to attracting businesses.
So when you go to attract somebody to come work at an existing business, that's an important situation. But so, to bring business in, not so much.
Now, I will tell you, when I look back over the last several projects we've had and we've talked about those kind of things, the only example I can give where they have asked something is AutoZone. At the very end, and their executive team was in, the one thing they wanted to talk about was healthcare. They operate in some smaller communities elsewhere in the country with distribution centers. They wanted to know if our employees get sick, can they get the health care they need here, or are they going to have to travel away to get health care? Now, if I want to talk about an area where we're really strong, it's health care.
Health care is pretty good here.
And our team was in, and man, we all got excited. We just knocked that ball out of the park because we have great stories to tell about health care. But that's the only example I can think about. But you're going to see, starting in the new year, we're going to unveil our new 5-year plan at the CEP. And our major new initiative that we're going to put a tremendous amount of focus on is talent attraction and skills development. Because if we're going to continue to grow, if we're going to continue to help existing companies grow and expand and attract talent to our community, we've got to address some of these issues. And we think the business community not only needs to be at the table, but they really need to be helped leading that discussion. And so you're going to see that as a major initiative from the CEP starting in 2017.
Now, you may not answer this question, that's perfectly okay, but do you sometimes, Kevin Sheilley, get frustrated sometimes with the lack of the way we stay committed to things as a community? I'll give you a prime example. We had a made-for-TV gold mine in an LPGA event that I know the CEP was behind, the county was behind, and that's gone. We had a made-for-perfect situation, and I'll rehash it because it aggravates me every time I think about it. The New York Yankees were ready to come bring their farm system here. We were going to have, now we know that at the time there was an agreement in principle that once it was built that the Bass Pro Shops would be here. That nice Bass Pro Shop that now sits on Archer Road up in Gainesville.
Right.
And does it sometimes, do you allow yourself to get frustrated, or is that just is not productive, and so you got to just move on and keep going?
I am Johnny optimistic, so I try to stay as much focused on moving forward and the good things. But do I get frustrated sometimes? Sure. The projects you mentioned are each a little bit unique. I think if we were to bring the Yankees project today, I think we could get that through without any problem.
What are we waiting on?
Well, right now it's to have sales tax allocated to it. I think we've allocated our sales tax for the next couple of years. But, I think there's much more, part of the great change that I don't know that people recognize, and it's huge, is the great amount of cooperation that there is today between the city and county that did not exist 4 years ago. And I hope and like to think the CEP has played a key role in building that cooperation. We've got new leadership in both those organizations now that are allowing them to work and to understand that, look, if the city of Ocala is successful, Marion County will be successful. And if Marion County is successful, obviously the city is successful. And so there's a tremendous amount of cooperation and partnership now that didn't exist 4 years ago. But it can be frustrating. My biggest fear is that people look at the last 4 years and go, man, look, we've brought all these new companies in, all these things are happening, we're getting all these accolades. We can sit back, all's good, things are just gonna happen. When you have a crisis like we had a few years ago and our unemployment was the highest in the state at 14.4, man, people buckle down and they work together. And then as things get better, then they start doing their own thing, and apathy comes into play. And so, our buzzword this past year organizationally has been momentum, maintaining the momentum. It's so key. We had an economist who came in recently to lead our board through their strategic planning, and she talked about, look, you all have done the hardest thing there is to do in economic development, which is to get the momentum. You can't let that stop. That keeps your community moving forward. So when I hear people who will say things like, well, stuff just happens. You all don't really have to do anything. City and county don't have to do anything. These businesses are just going to come, or that company's just going to expand. Not only is it not true, man, that really helps push us back. And so that gets a little frustrating. But I am optimistic that we're going to continue because I think the leadership is focused on keeping our community moving forward. And as long as we can keep leadership focused on it, the community will keep moving forward.
Let's talk about some of the companies coming in. AutoZone is one that they're building fast and furious out there near FedEx. Also Chewy Foods.
Right, Chewy.com.
And when Chewy.com, and when people say Chewy.com, they really don't know. Give people a primer on what Chewy.com is.
And I have to be careful because it hasn't been officially announced. City and counties approved the incentives. We're now waiting for the state to sign off, which is important. So hopefully we'll have a formal announcement early in the new year. But I think when people learn about Chewy, they are the #1 online e-tailer. They're an online-only company in the pet supplies. They have over 50% of the market. They are the market leader. Now that people are starting to hear Chewy, if they weren't already familiar with them, you're going to realize, man, there's their commercial on TV. Oh, wait a minute, I just got a direct mail piece. They're showing up on my computer. They are growing very aggressively, but it's a neat company. If you love your pet, and a lot of us do, and you start looking what's available through Chewy, what they're doing here in Ocala is it's not just going to be a distribution center, and that's important, and that's huge, and they're going to be a great addition. They're also going to be having a large customer contact center. People who are working for Chewy interacting with their customers. For every 3 customers Chewy has, they have a customer interaction. That's unbelievable.
That's pretty good.
That's amazing. And it's not someone calling because they're complaining about not receiving something. It's they're calling because, hey, my dog's developed an allergy and I'm not quite sure what food I should move them to. Or my cat's having an issue with fur balls and can you recommend something? They want their customer contact people to be really passionate and knowledgeable about pets. They do a lot of training continuously about their products. And I think it's going to be a really fun atmosphere. I mean, it is a very laid-back company. Their employees are known as Chutopians, and that's an important part of who their culture is. And I think adding that to our community is just adding to that diversity, and I think people will get really excited. But the other thing to me that's exciting, you talk about AutoZone, they're building a 440,000 square foot distribution center. Again, really unique company culture, zoners. And they promote, both of those companies have done a tremendous amount of promoting from within. Chewy's only 5 years old, so it's been limited. But AutoZone, their vice president who's over this facility started off in a warehouse. I mean, they've worked their way up. They've all been part of that culture. So I think that's going to be really exciting. But just think, by this summer, when you drive down the interstate, not only are you going to see FedEx right there, you're going to see 1.1 million square feet of new distribution center going up. There's value in that. People already, when AutoZone's under construction, will call say, hey man, what's being built there? What's happening? Now imagine seeing these 2 ginormous buildings going up right there next to it. That just continues that momentum and excitement.
And that doesn't even begin to talk about how Abco Trucking, one of the largest refrigeration companies, trucking companies in the country, just moved all their logistics and all to the former Marilat building. Right. That's now the Abco Trucking, which is a subsidiary of Arnell Carriers. which people don't really. A lot of people don't realize that the owners of Golden Ocala Golf and Equestrian Club, who just announced a huge equestrian addition,
Right.
also own R&L Carrier
Right.
Trucking and Abco Trucking. So there's a lot of diversity in our community now, from not just the real estate end, but restaurants end, and manufacturing, and now distribution. What is it about Ocala? If I said Kevin Sheilley, you got 30 seconds to give me the one thing. If you had to go to your go-to selling for Marion County, Denellen, Bellevue, Reddick, Citra, Ocala, all the municipalities, what would be the one thing your go-to Kevin Sheilley could tell somebody about our community?
You know, when we talk to clients, the very first thing we say is, look, you can't beat location. And if you're having to serve Florida and the Caribbean and the Southeast, there is not a better location than Ocala, Florida. It sits right on the midpoint of the Atlanta to Miami corridor on I-75, the #1 truck route in the Southeast. If you need to move product, whether you're manufacturing it or whether you're distributing it, there's not a better location. You don't have to worry about weather. You don't have to worry about cost. We're a low-cost environment with incredible location. That is our #1 selling point.
Kevin Sheilley, the CEO and president of the CEP for Ocala, Marion County. 2017, got about a minute to go. 2017, huge things on the horizon. I know you can't tell us everything, but bigger, better, more involved in 2016?
You know, I will tell you, I thought 2016 was going to be our peak year. That was going to be the crunch point. And I look at what's coming down the pipeline in 17. I'm really excited. I think 17 is going to be an even bigger year. You're going to see more announcements, more jobs, more expansions. And I'm really excited. We're going to, at our annual luncheon, which is on February 8th, nearly sold out. Here it is, 6 weeks out, 600-person event. I think we have 10 seats left. Nearly sold out, so you know the community is excited about it. We're going to unveil our new 5-year plan, moving forward phase 2, how we continue the momentum and build on it. And I'm really excited about the opportunities. Our board is excited, our team obviously is really excited, and I think our community is going to be really excited about how we talk about not just maintaining, but continuing to grow and diversify, so that when people are thinking about where do I want to be, no matter where they live in the country, we want them thinking, man, I need to look at Ocala. I need to see what opportunities are available there, and then we'll know that we've really become successful.
Kevin Sheilley, the president and CEO of the CEP Chamber of Economic Partnership for Ocala, Marion County. And now to this day in history. This day in history is brought to you by KT Entertainment. If you have a wedding reception, a birthday party, or any type of private gathering that you need musical entertainment, call KT Entertainment at 352-512-2611, or you can find them on the web at kt4fun.com. That's KT, the number 4, fun.com. KT Entertainment for all your entertainment needs. On this day in history in 1864, during the American Civil War, U.S. General William Tecumseh Sherman sent a message to then President Abraham Lincoln. He said, "Mr. President, I beg to present you the fine Christmas present, Savannah, Georgia," sparing Savannah, Georgia from the swath of pillage and rage that was the burning of Georgia, all the way a 40-mile wide swath from Atlanta all the way to Savannah. But Sherman got to Savannah, thought Savannah was such a beautiful town that he spared it, and instead, on this day in history in 1864, presented it to President Lincoln as a Christmas gift. For my guest, Kevin Sheilley, for Ryan Mace behind the scenes, I'm Tom Schmitz. You've been watching Common Sense with Tom Schmitz. Have a great day.